All right, let's dive into a question that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but is actually grounded in some seriously cool research. Do dolphins actually have names? Now, to even begin to answer that, we first have to try and think like a dolphin.
So, just for a second, picture this. You're in a really loud, crowded place. You spot your friend all the way across the room, but you can't just shout their name. So, what do? Maybe you have a special whistle, a unique sound that only they would know is for them. It's a tricky problem, isn't it?
Well, for dolphins, that's not just some random thought experiment. It is their everyday reality. Out there in the massive, often cloudy ocean where you can't always see very far, they needed a way to call out to specific friends and family. And the solution they came up with is, frankly, incredible. And that solution brings us to the very heart of their communication, this amazing acoustic fingerprint, something we can call a signature sound.
The official term scientists use is a signature whistle. Now, this isn't like a dog's bark or a cat's meow. It's not a sound they're just born with. Nope. It's a learned, unique little melody that a dolphin creates to basically announce to the ocean, hey, it's me. It's their own personal call sign. And here's where it gets really interesting and kind of different from us. You know how you can tell your friends apart by the unique sound of their voice? That deep voice or high voice? Well, for dolphins, it's not about the sound of their voice. Their identity is actually baked into the specific melody of their whistle. So it's the tune, not the instrument, that carries the name. So these signature whistles have some pretty specific rules. A dolphin figures out its unique whistle when it's young, often by listening to all the other dolphins and then creating its own special version. That whistle pretty much stays the same for years, like a reliable ID card. And this is key, they use them all the time when different pods of dolphins meet each other out at sea.
But okay, this is where the mystery really deepens. Dolphins don't just whistle their own signature sound, they've been heard copying the whistles of other dolphins. And that led scientists to a huge question. What does that copy actually mean? Are they just mimicking a sound they heard, kind of like a parrot does? Or is it something way more deliberate, a way of actually calling out to another dolphin? In other words, are they using these whistles just like we use names?
So the researchers had these two competing theories. The big hunch, the exciting one, was that copying a whistle was a form of addressing, like shouting, "Hey, Sarah," across the room. The other, less exciting idea was that it was just mimicry, no real intention to get Sarah's attention. So how on earth do you figure that one out in the middle of the ocean?
Well, you designed a brilliantly clever experiment, and that's exactly what researchers Stephanie King and Vincent Janik did. They basically figured out a way to listen in on the secret conversations of wild dolphins. Their method was just beautiful in its simplicity. Step 1, follow a group of dolphins and record them until you've got a clean recording of one individual's signature whistle. Step 2, use an underwater speaker to play a copy of that exact whistle back to the dolphin's pod. And step 3, listen. Just listen very, very closely to see what happens next.
Now, to make sure this was a real scientific test, they couldn't just play the dolphin's own whistle back. That wouldn't prove anything, right? So they added two control sounds. One was the whistle of a familiar dolphin from the same area. The other was the whistle of a total stranger, a dolphin from a completely different population. This way, they could find out if the dolphin was responding specifically to being called by its name.
And what they heard in response? Well, it was the scientific equivalent of a bombshell. This was that eureka moment. I mean, just look at this. The black part of the bar shows when the dolphin called back with its own whistle. When they heard a copy of their own whistle, look at that response. It's huge. But when they heard a familiar or a stranger's whistle, almost total silence.
Let's put some numbers on it, because they're pretty staggering. When their own name was played back to them, 8 out of the 12 dolphins they tested called right back. They answered the call.
Now compare that to the controls. Out of 22 times they played other whistles, from both friends and strangers, they only got a reply twice. The conclusion was just inescapable. It wasn't just any old whistle that got a response. It was their whistle. And this is what that conversation looks like as a picture of sound. This little shape here, the first one, is the playback from the researcher's speaker. That's them calling the dolphin's name. And then, just a couple of seconds later, you see an almost identical whistle. That's the dolphin calling back, basically saying, "Yep, you called me?" It's a perfect call and response. So, what does this all really mean? Well, the implications here are huge. This isn't just some clever party trick.
This discovery has opened up a whole new window into how animal minds might work.
I mean, let's just use the researchers' own words here. They said the study provides compelling evidence that dolphins use these learned signals as labels to address each other. It's not just a sound, it is functioning exactly like a name.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, what about bird song? And that's a great thought, but this is fundamentally different. Most complex bird songs are about two things: mating or defending territory. These dolphin whistles are used in friendly social situations. And while birds in an area often share songs, a dolphin's signature whistle is one of a kind. It's theirs and theirs alone.
And that's why this is such a big deal. This is one of the only real examples we have of a non-human mammal learning vocal labels to talk to specific individuals. It hints that there's a parallel in their brains to how we use names. It completely shakes up our ideas about how something as complex as language might have evolved on our planet.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final, absolutely mind-bending question to chew on. If dolphins have individual names that they learn and use to call out to one another, what else are they talking about out there in the big blue?